Welcome to Screw the Commute, the entrepreneurial podcast dedicated to getting you out of the car and into the money. With your host, lifelong entrepreneur and multimillionaire, Tom Antion.
Hey everybody, it's Tom here with episode 643 of Screw the Commute podcast. I'm here with John Davis, and he is kicking off Vetpreneur Month. Every September, we honor our veteran entrepreneurs, and we honor all our veterans, really, that allowed, to sacrifice so much so that we can be doing the stuff we do here as safely as possible. And he claims to be the most tattooed person with a Harvard degree. And, I thought, that's a pretty braggadocio claim. So I called up Harvard and I asked him, and they hung up on me. So, but he is bringing to us the most important thing he learned from Harvard, and that is the best whiskeys available in Cambridge, Massachusetts. So he's going to tell us about that. And also, he's a prolific writer that's helping veterans, and so we'll bring him on in a minute. All right, let me give you an update on our program to help persons with disabilities. We have 3 people in the program. 2 of them are blind. And it's interesting because I was thinking when I started that program that people are going to have physical disabilities, like, can't walk or no hands or something like that. And the first 2 people that showed up were blind. And I'm like, oh my God, I wasn't expecting this. Guess what? They're shooting better videos than I do. They're so inspirational, and we're going to get them either hired in good jobs, start their own business, or both. And so if you can help us out on that, check it out at screwthecommute.com/disability, and then click on the GoFundMe campaign. Any little bit you throw in is great. And hey, if you're really flush with cash, you could sponsor a person yourself. That would really be something you could be proud of. I know I'm proud to be associated with the program. All right, make sure you pick up a copy of our automation ebook. You will thank me if you even do a portion of the things that are in this book. I want you working with customers and developing products and services and working with prospects, not fighting with your computer. The tips in this book help me be lightning fast, taking care of people and saving me enormous numbers of keystrokes. Actually, we estimate it now at about 8 million keystrokes, and I don't have carpal tunnel syndrome because of the tips in this book. So download it at screwthecommute.com/automate free. And while you're at it, pick up a copy of our podcast app at screwthecommute.com/app. That's APP, and put us on your cell phone and tablet and take us with you on the road. All right, let's get to the main event. John Davis is here, and he did 2 combat tours in Afghanistan. And like I say, he's the most tattooed person with a Harvard degree. And John has advocated to Congress as a legislative fellow for the VFW, and is the author of Combat to College. We'll talk more about that during our time with him today. He loves fitness and travel, and he currently lives in the Dominican Republic. You're going to learn how to especially with helping veterans. He helps them learn how to navigate the transition to civilian life and to build their team and resumes and go to higher education and work with politicized woke professors and try to get through that without killing somebody and endure, I guess, the graduation ceremony. But anyway, we're going to bring him on, and he lives in Iowa. And he joined the Army. Listen to this. He's a Harvard master's degree grad, but he failed out of community college. They must have one kick-ass hard community college where he comes from. He served in the 101st Airborne Division as an infantry squad leader in Afghanistan. We'll get into some more of his creds as we go. But John, are you ready to screw
the commute?
Yes. How you doing, man?
I'm good. I was waiting for to yell at the commute. I'm doing great. I'm not surprised Harvard hung up on you.
Yeah. What are you doing in the Dominican Republic? Don't they let you here, or you just can't stand the woke environment here?
It is great to be outside the United States. Way less stressful, and the military benefits go a lot further here than they do somewhere like New York City. So my rent is significantly lower than the American environment right now.
Yeah, that's a big thing because they're going up like crazy here, and of course, in a lot of the cities, the crime is rampant. So yeah, it seems like a nice lifestyle. So we're going to talk about your book in a minute, but we got to talk about whiskey first. I mean, we have to have our priorities. Seems to me you like whiskey recommendations. Is that what I read about you?
That's one of the things I always ask people. If you have a book recommendation or a whiskey recommendation, I'll take it. I think
Well,
everybody usually has one or the other.
well, that is not true, John, because believe it or not, I owned a nightclub for 6 years in West Virginia. It was the second biggest club in West. Well, you got to say by God, West by God, Virginia, and I'm allergic to alcohol. And I don't take one drop. I light up like a Christmas tree. My face breaks out in hives. And so I don't have any whiskey recommendations for you. Sorry.
I don't know. I don't know what you did to God to make him do that to you, but
Well,
I'll pray for you.
I'm the designated driver no matter what happens. And I don't know, what's your favorite?
I like Maker's Mark. That's my go-to whiskey.
What is that, Walmart brand? Or no, that's Members Mark. I didn't know
That,
Walmart was into whiskey.
but I'll
Yes.
tell you what's always good to have somebody who can't drink around to be a designated driver.
Yeah.
I'm
So,
everybody's best friend sometimes.
all right, now, I got to be honest with you. I've had a lot of interaction with veterans, like a veteranpreneur tribe. I was the admin for a while, and I was doing lots of trainings for them, and spoke at the Military Influencers Conference. And I don't see a lot of vets who are writers, to tell you the truth. How'd you get into it?
I got into it because I was working in a VA program doing my undergrad, and my job was to help out student veterans. And I saw so many of the obstacles student veterans were facing and kind of the same pitfalls that they're falling into over and over again. It wasn't just one guy, it was the same people or people making the same mistakes over and over again. So it kind of led me into trying to make a book to help out student veterans who are in such a pivotal time in their life.
Well, I mean, getting a master's degree from Harvard is no small thing. How did you end up failing out of a community college and then ended up telling them at Harvard how it works?
A lot of people, I was like a lot of 18, 19-year-olds when I was at community college in Iowa. I was, more focused on whiskey and girls than going to class. And that's because, at that age, you're so immature. And then after years of military and developing a military mindset, when I got to school, I figured out it was actually pretty easy because all you have to do is do the work. I think that a lot of people, go to class, you go to class on time, you get there early, you do extra readings, and before you know it, you're at Harvard, which I grew up in small town Iowa, so Harvard was kind of like Hogwarts to me growing up. I don't
Hmm.
know anyone else that went there or anything like that. So it's just kind of an educational journey where I realized how being in the military could be an advantage and not always a disadvantage, which is how a lot of veterans look at it.
Well, I'm going to go out on a limb here and suggest that when you went to Harvard, you kind of stood out a little bit from the norm of normal people that go there.
Yeah, I was a little bit, I mean, you're a little bit older when you go to college and you're in your 30s and you're covered in tattoos. And at the time when I got out of the military, I don't think I could say a full sentence without cursing. So kind of learning that, that learning curve took a little bit to get through.
Well, I don't think it totally got out of your mouth because tell them about the story that where you blurted out something about Afghanistan.
Well, my first week in college, there was a young guy with a Bush did 9/11 sticker on his computer sitting next to me. And
Oh, geez.
we all went around the room, did the daily introductions. And I said, my name is John. I was in, the Army. And he said, I don't look down on you for being a veteran in front of the whole class. And there is kind of an anti-military culture on campuses,
Right.
going back to Vietnam and things like that. And then at the time, of course, not having a filter, I'm yelling at him to shut the hell up. I was killing people when you were learning to read. And you feel like your first week in college, you feel kind of like Billy Madison, when Adam Sandler goes back to school and he's sitting around all the third graders because, I'm, in my 30s, I've been married and divorced. I have a beard covered in tattoos. I own my own home. You're far from your classic college freshman.
Well, did you, was the professor just as bad as the other kids?
The professors in college, you run into issues with them because there's naturally sort of a power imbalance in the classroom to where, the professors are knowledgeable and educated, and their job is to educate the students. And student veterans can kind of throw a wrench into that because we come into the classroom with, a whole lot of life experience and real world experience, whereas the educational environment can be far removed from reality at times.
Oh, you're kidding me. Jeez, jeez. And you
Yeah,
said
breaking news for your listeners.
you said that the professor is supposed to educate them. I thought he's supposed to indoctrinate them. They both end in E. But this is totally different. Oh,
Well,
man.
I have a chapter in my book about political professors because veterans do run into that in the classroom, and there is certainly an anti-military sentiment in a lot of classrooms. And I think that's also something that stops veterans from enrolling in the first place because they don't want to be lectured to. I mean, you're lectured to enough in the military, and when you get out, you don't want to sit in a chair and listen to someone who's been teaching the same economics 101 class past 20 years.
Yeah, and sitting in a chair and never faced any serious life consequences in his whole life or her whole life.
No, and
Yeah.
they're also a lot of times their ideas aren't challenged because the freshman students are sitting there kind of in the information, and then if professors say something that's obviously incorrect or something, students are more likely to speak up or go against the professor or be confrontational, as opposed to some 19-year-old coming out of their parents' house.
I wouldn't last 5 minutes in the current environment. I would have, I would ream them. You know what? I've written 25 books, John, and the latest one I'm working on is called Highly Educated Idiots. It's based on, and it's true. It says all these people, okay, defund the police. Oh yeah, that's going to reduce crime. And then, crime goes crazy. I mean, I could literally take a farmer from my hometown, which is 500 people in my small hometown in Western Pennsylvania, and put him in any government position, and they would make better decisions because they live on common sense, but it's common sense is so far out the window nowadays.
Especially in education, because you have the benefit of not, ideas on paper are always different than ideas, in real life. So I think that, that's one thing that student veterans bring to the classroom is a different perspective based on real life experiences, instead of have some professor who might not have much at all and normal students who traditionally have around zero. So student veterans are really something that benefit the college classroom, but a lot of them, even who have the free college available to them, choose not to go. And that's something that I wanted to do, is encourage veterans to go to college. But I think you're right in that you have to pick the right college sometimes.
Yeah, it seems like, to use an Afghanistan reference, I mean, it seems like you go into one of those classrooms with 300 people in it, and you're like the only one there, and all you have left is your 9mm pistol, and there's nobody else to help you. You're just surrounded, basically.
Yeah, and that's something that I think is for veterans, not only in education but kind of in everyday life, is you have to, it can be difficult being the only veteran in the room, and that isolation, is statistically more dangerous to veterans than combat is, with so many veterans taking their lives every day.
Right.
So kind of building up support systems around yourself is something that's very important in your transition, into civilian life or into college. And that's, something I talk about a lot, is now there's a plethora of student veteran organizations and things like that. So you can connect with other veterans and not be the only person surrounded in a 300-person lecture hall.
Yeah. Yeah. All right. Now I want to get into talking about your book, but I want to bring something up ahead of time. just to get your thoughts on it, if you choose to give me your thoughts on it. But the exit from Afghanistan, by all, I mean, I just got, I'm not a veteran, but I'm so pro military. My dad was actually in the cavalry in the early 1900s, had a horse. All right, so very pro military. But I want to throw up in my mouth when I saw Afghani or Taliban marching down with our uniforms and our guns and oh man. So, and I'm not even a veteran who had to go through all that stuff. So what are your thoughts on it?
Well, I think that, I mean, when you see things like humans falling from planes, I mean, it looks kind of like an Expendables movie and clearly
Mm-hmm.
a disaster. I think that it was never really possible for Afghanistan veterans to come home to victory parades like we did, World War II. I think that it was had a lot of similarities to Vietnam in that both of them had chaotic, confusing, tragic endings. And I think that's another thing that makes it harder for Afghanistan veterans like me to kind of close that chapter
Right.
on our lives, because you kind of give all your blood, your sweat, your tears. I mean, obviously I have close friends that died over there and came back and killed themselves. And I'm not really sure what ending the war should have had, but I know that American veterans deserved a much better one.
Yeah, exactly. And I mean, just from a practical standpoint, leaving $80 billion worth of military equipment to a bunch of savages,
Not
so
the best spending, not the best financial decision.
yeah, financial or any other kind of decision. So, but anyway, so let's tell us more about your book. What kind of things are in it besides the handling the woke professors?
Well, the military doesn't put a whole lot of effort into you being successful in your civilian life. I mean, it's just kind of the nature of the beast is they care about you when you're serving, and then when you get out, you're kind of on your own. And then you're thrown into the civilian world, and you kind of have to remake who you are because the person who went into the military is never the same person that came out.
Right.
And you can't really be who you were in the military because that person is, was in a different context. So I think college provides a good bridge from the military to the civilian world. So I kind of view my book as a guide to get over that bridge and make it to the other side because a lot of veterans, their first stop is college. That's where a ton of veterans go because you have the opportunity to go to school, and kind of your success or failure at that point has a huge impact on your future because if you go there and you drop out, it's easy to spiral into having problems. Whereas if you excel in life, if you excel in college, you're much more likely to excel in life. I mean, the people with college degrees make more money, and most people don't know, but it seems kind of obvious, but people with college degrees kill themselves less than people without them.
Well, a couple things I want to ask you here. So, do you make a distinction between a combat veteran? Because there's like loads of military people that might be stationed in Toledo and just pushing papers and logistics and never saw any real action. So do you make a distinction between them, or do they still have problems?
No, it's actually non-combat veterans that kill themselves more than combat veterans, which is always kind of a surprise to people.
They
And one of
feel
the
guilty or what?
I think it's because there's such a large gap between the military and civilian lives that, they felt like they might feel like they were never really in the military if they didn't deploy, but I mean, they still were, obviously. And the military leaves such a mark on you that transitioning back in the civilian world is more of a problem than anything you'll face in the military. And most veterans never see combat. I mean, like 1% of the military sees combat, even in Iraq and Afghanistan, as far as, direct combat goes. So the book has a lot to deal with, all types of veterans who even Coast Guard veterans.
Mm-hmm. Well, around here, that's like doctors and dentists. Doctors don't say dentists are really doctors. they fight each other. But how long did it take you to write this book?
Well, this book is actually a second edition of a book that I did about a year and a half ago, because the first book I wrote while basically over like a summer. It took me like 2 months. And then I self-published it on my own just because, not for any, at the time I had no desire to be a writer or make a career out of any of this or anything like that. And then I just wanted to help student veterans because that's what I was. And people closest to problems are usually the ones best suited to solve them, which is why politicians never solve problems
Right.
because they're so far away from them. So I saw this, and eventually I was handing people a list that was John's college tips, and it was just, a list of things. And then I was, running an entire student veteran program, helping other student veterans while I was a student veteran. So I just kind of hammered the book out based on quick, quick and dirty lessons, and I actually said the F word, I think like 35 times in the first edition. So after I published it, I kind of, it was, and then I was, going to grad school and things. So, occupied on doing different things. And then the book did really well, as far as a self-published book goes. And I was contacted by the Association of the United States Army Book Program, and they wanted to get it to a publisher to do a real second edition of it because it had impacted so many people. So then I rewrote the entire book with the professional help of a publisher, which was nice. But the first book had, some grammatical errors, like I said, the F word, and was not, it's far from a professional piece. So this is a little bit more research backed. I did a lot of interviews and things like that. So this one took me about 9 months to write from start to finish, rewriting the first one.
But do you still have all the rights to it? Or is it major publishing or what?
No, it's a
Hybrid?
University of North Georgia Press, so it's a college publisher.
Mm-hmm.
It's a military college of Georgia, so they have a lot of military connections and things like that help with the book.
So who owns the rights is what I want to know.
Oh, I still have them.
Okay.
I mean, it's still all my stories.
It seems to me that you could get some big sponsors to buy enormous numbers of the books to give away.
Yeah, that's what I'm hoping. I'm hoping, because that's what I'm doing is emailing colleges and saying, hey, I have these resources for student veterans. Because I didn't only write the book, I also wrote a companion journal to go along with it. Because, let's face it, a lot of people are not readers. And a lot of people don't want to read while they're already in college or something because they already have to read enough. And that's why I made the book, short, to the point, funny, relatable. But I also made a student veteran semester journal that has like a weekly calendar, budgeting, and things like that. Because I know, as a business guy, your economic health plays a lot into your entire life, to where if student veterans can't pay the bills, or can't budget their money right, then it makes school a hell of a lot harder.
Mm-hmm.
So I also have that with like weekly tasks, budgets, calendars, motivation stuff that's available. It's called Student Veteran Semester Journal, and it's on my website or Amazon.
Yeah, and your website is johnhdaviswriter.com. Is that the one?
Yep. And my blog's on there too. I have some on, everything from Afghanistan to why veterans should get divorced more and not less, and why you should go get tattoos and things like that.
The divorce lawyers, get them as a sponsor. They'll love you. They'll love you.
That's where the money is.
Yeah. So, one of my favorite jokes is marriage is grand, but divorce is 200 grand. So,
that's true. One of the mistakes veterans make early is we get married when they're like 18, 19 years old.
Yeah.
That's what I did. And who knows? And usually 18, 19, we don't make the best decisions or partner decisions. So a lot of times we get married way too young, and veterans are such committed people. We live our lives around commitment. And so we stay in kind of bad marriages a lot more than we should.
Yeah, I think there's been an inordinate. See, I'm in Virginia Beach, which is basically Norfolk, Virginia, which is probably the largest collection of military in the world. Mm-hmm. And I think too many of the guys down at Oceana Naval Station marry the girls from the gentleman's club across the street. I don't think that works out that great.
You either marry the girl from the gentleman's club, or you marry your high school sweetheart, and sometimes both of them are bad decisions.
Right. Let me tell you, I went to college on a football scholarship, all right, major college, and don't judge me because I did have an appointment to the Naval Academy, and I turned it down because I saw them jogging to class, and I'm thinking, man, I am not cut out for this. And some little twerp gives me an order. I'd get court-martialed in 2 seconds. But anyway, so I'm in this major college, and my roommate is 6'5", 265 pounds, can bench press 460 pounds. All he does is drink and carouse, and was barely functional literacy. Could barely read. I got him through his first year, basically, but he had no business whatsoever being in college. It turns out that he could walk by a furniture store, look at a piece of furniture, and go home and duplicate it better than it was. He didn't belong in that college. They just sucked him in to use him because he was big and fast and tough. But he had no business being in college. So I know you're pushing college, but what about trade schools and things that actually give people a skill very quickly and so forth?
The GI Bill is gotten a lot more varied over the last recent years. So now you can use the GI Bill for not only traditional college, you can use it to go to scuba school, you can use it to go to flight school, you can use it to go to police academies, you can use it to do a variety of things, including trade schools. And a lot of veterans, if you have, especially if you have a specific path, I would recommend probably going to trade school over a traditional college, especially if you're going into a field that doesn't require degrees. If you want, and trade schools have such a direct connection to employment. I mean, trade school employment rates are much higher than any liberal college. So a lot of advice in my book is relatable for anyone going to trade schools. And I talk about trade schools a lot because obviously that is a preferable option for a lot of veterans who are more likely to benefit from hands-on experiential type learning like the military instead of sitting in college classes.
Yeah, the chances of them being surrounded by the woke idiot professors are slim. And welders are making $150,000 to $200,000 a year. And if they're underwater welders, it's even more.
Yeah, if I had a kid, and that's what, plumbers make a lot more than teachers do. So if you're thinking about money, the plumbing is an excellent field to get into. And like you said, welding too. So yeah, but the point of plumbing or welding, even when you're learning those things, you have to go through some type of program or training or school, and you have to be able to stick through it. So my book guides veterans through basically any type of thing that they're going to. It's not only towards, sitting in a classroom to get a liberal arts degree. There's a lot of overlap for even, traditional students or any non-traditional students going back to school who faces issues, with learning, with scheduling, with setting yourself up for success.
So it's based around higher education, whether it's college or trade.
Yeah, any type of. I mean, learning should be a lifelong thing for everyone,
right?
Because one of the things I encourage is you shouldn't, finish high school in a book and never read another one again. You should continue on a path, and that's why I think college is a good option for veterans, especially because one, it's paid for. So if you're not going to use it, at least give the benefit to your spouse or children or something. And one of the things that has always been concerning to me is so many veterans who can go to school for free choose not to. And that's okay if you don't want to, or if you have something else lined up. But if you have this available benefit to you, I think you should take advantage of it, because like you talk about, a lot of people plunge themselves hundreds of thousands of dollars in debt for a degree, and veterans who can go for free often choose not to.
Yeah, crazy. It's crazy world out there. I understand you have an excerpt of your upcoming book available.
Yeah, I'm going to put one up on my website that people can get.
All right, where would they go for it?
It's johnhdaviswriter.com/excerpt. And then you can read and you can get an excerpt from the upcoming book.
Beautiful. That's great. And it's coming out when, and where can they get it?
September 20th. You can pre-order it now. It's on Amazon, okay. Barnes & Noble, all of the major all the
distributors
big
and stuff. So Combat to College is the title, right?
Yep.
Beautiful. Now, if they have questions and want to talk, get in touch with you, what should they do?
Best way is go on my website. I have johnhdaviswriter.com, and then there you have my email, social media, all those things. If they have any questions about college or veteran issues or things like that, I'd be happy to help.
Wonderful. And I know you're very, very active. I mean, you're helping out the VFW, the American Legion, and the U.S. Military Vets Motorcycle Club. A lot of people listening know that motorcycle guys were trying to kill me for 6 years. So hopefully that's not those kind of motorcycle guys. What are they riding? What's the average vet ride?
Most vets rides Harleys. At least my club, everyone rides Harleys, or So I'm not sure what you did to deserve them trying to kill you, but it's possible you deserved it. Who knows?
Maybe, I guess. You don't have any rice rockets in the group then, I guess, huh?
No.
Well, thanks so much for coming on, John, and thanks from all of us and all the audience here for your service. And I just can't, we can't imagine one day in Afghanistan. I mean, I heard on the radio lately all the promises the Taliban made. Nope, girls can't go to school, kicked out of school, sit down, shut up, or get beat up or raped. I mean, I can't imagine the kind of savagery that you folks witnessed and endured. So we just thank you for doing it on our behalf.
Yeah, I think the coming humanitarian crisis is going to kill more people than the war ever could.
Yeah.
So it's definitely a tragedy for the people who are still over there. And like you said, when you're used to being able to go to school or be able to go outside without covering your face, and it's torn away. I mean, it's definitely terrible. I wrote a little bit about the the Abbey Gate suicide bombing, which is the anniversary for that right now. Not only the 13 service members that died, but all the innocent Afghans and the terrible U.S. response to it. So it's definitely a tragedy. And I appreciate your words.
Yeah, no problem. And see, I'm revered when I go out with something covering my face, because they say, please don't subject us to this.
People are throwing them at you like there's a bandana.
Yeah, I got the face for podcasting, radio. All right, man. Well, thanks so much for coming on. Everybody check out johnhdaviswriter.com/excerpt. And also, if you have questions or military related questions or any kind of questions, because he's a great writer and by his own decree, the most tattooed person to have a Harvard degree. So I think Guinness Book of World Records is trying to contact him today. So thanks, John.
I'm sure after your show. Thanks a lot.
All right, everybody. We are just kicking off Vetpreneur Month here, September on Screw the Commute podcast, and we're going to be highlighting veteran entrepreneurs the entire month. Make sure you support them in any way you can, and that's what we're doing here. All right, we'll catch you on the next episode. See you later.